In the quiet town of Umwahia, nestled between green hills and whispering trees, lived a young woman named Ada. She was kind, humble, and always full of life, even though life had not been very kind to her. Ada worked as a housemaid in the grand mansion of Chika Obi, the richest man in the town and perhaps even the entire state. Chika was not just rich. He was young, tall, and very handsome. Everyone called him Odogwu because he built schools, gave jobs, and still dressed like a prince from the stories grandmothers told. But Ada hardly saw him. He traveled often for business, and whenever he was home, he kept to himself. One rainy afternoon, the wind howled louder than usual, and the sky wept like a child. Ada rushed around the house, shutting windows and wiping the wet floors. She didn't hear the gates open or the footsteps approaching. She had no idea that Chika had returned. "Who left this door open?" a deep voice asked suddenly. Ada spun around, her bucket slipping from her hand and water splashing across the tiled floor. "Oh, sir. I didn't know you were back," she stammered, her cheeks turning as red as ripe tomatoes. Chika chuckled, folding his umbrella and stepping inside. "I didn't mean to scare you, Ada. You look like you saw a ghost." "I'm sorry, sir. I was just cleaning." "The rain," she started. But before she could finish, her foot slipped. With a gasp, she fell, straight into Chika's arms. Both of them froze. Ada blinked up at him, heart pounding like a talking drum. Chika's eyes locked on hers. For a moment, the whole world seemed to stop. Then, Ada jumped away. "Forgive me, sir. I didn't mean." "It's okay," Chika said softly. "You don't have to be scared." Ada nodded quickly and picked up the bucket, too embarrassed to look at him again. From that day on, something changed in the house. Chika started noticing Ada more. He would watch from the balcony as she watered the flowers. He saw the way she helped the cook, the guards, even the stray cat that wandered into the compound. She was gentle with everyone, and her laughter was like music. One evening, as the sun painted the sky orange, Chika called her. "Ada, do you like to read?" he asked. She looked at him, surprised. "Yes, sir, but I haven't read a real book in years." He handed her a book from his shelf. "Then start with this one. It's one of my favorites." Her eyes widened. "For me?" "Yes," he smiled. "You deserve more than just mopping floors and cleaning windows." She held the book like it was made of gold. "Thank you, sir. I don't know what to say." "Say you'll read it," he replied. "I will," she said quietly. "Every word." From then, they began to talk more about books, music, dreams, and even fears. Ada told him how she wanted to be a teacher someday. Chika shared how lonely his world was even with all the riches. One night, Chika stood by the garden, watching fireflies dance. "Ada," he said, "do you think people can fall in love with someone unexpected?" She looked at him carefully. "Love doesn't ask for permission. It just happens." He smiled. "I think it's happening to me." Her heart skipped. "To you?" "Yes," he whispered. "And I think it's you." Ada's eyes filled with tears. "But I'm just a maid, Chika." "No," he said, stepping closer. "You're Ada, the woman who made my house a home." Suddenly, everything changed. But in the shadows of that golden moment, trouble brewed. Whispers began to spread. People in town talked. Some laughed. Some called it madness. How can a billionaire love a maid, they said. But Chica didn't care. And neither did Ada. Not yet. The sun rose gently over Mwahia, bathing the town in golden light. In the Obi mansion, the air was different. It no longer smelled only of expensive furniture polish and foreign perfumes, it smelled of warmth, hope, and something that felt a lot like love. Ada walked through the garden that morning, the book Chica had given her still pressed to her chest. She had read it twice already, each page filling her with wonder. But what amazed her more than the story was the man who gave it to her. "Good morning, sunshine," Chica said, stepping out in a white shirt and slippers. Ada nearly dropped the book. "Sir, you scared me." He laughed. "I thought we agreed you'd call me Chica now." She blushed and looked away. "It still feels strange." "But it feels good, doesn't it?" he asked, taking a seat beside her on the garden bench. Ada nodded slowly. "Yes. But Chica, us, people will talk." "They already are," he said with a sigh. "The driver told me even the pepper sellers at Nquo Market know." Ada's eyes widened. "Are they angry?" "Some are. Some say I've lost my senses. Others think you're trying to trap me." Ada's voice shook. "Trap you? I would never." "I know, Ada. I know you," Chica said gently, placing his hand over hers. "You don't have to prove anything." Just then, Madame Uju, Chica's cousin from the city, burst into the garden, her geli, head tie, towering like a tree. "Chica! What is this nonsense I'm hearing?" she barked. Chica stood, calm but firm. "Good morning, Uju." "Don't good morning me. Are you truly in love with your housemaid? A girl with no name, no family, no class?" Ada stood too, trembling. "Please, Ma, I never meant to." "Silence!" Uju snapped. "Do you know how many daughters of governors and ministers want Chica's hand? And you? You're just a human being." Chica finished sharply. "One with more heart and honesty than any of those high-class girls you mentioned." Uju gasped. "You're choosing her over your legacy?" Chica took Ada's hand. "I'm choosing love. Isn't that what truly matters?" Uju scoffed and marched away, her geli shaking with every step. Ada pulled her hand away gently. "You didn't have to defend me like that." "Yes, I did," he said. "You're worth defending." But that wasn't the last of it. The next week, Ada went to the market to buy fruits. As she walked through the stalls, people whispered behind her back. "There she goes, the queen of the mansion. She must have used juju. That's how poor girls get rich men. She better not forget where she came from." Ada felt her cheeks burn. She hurried back to the car, tears stinging her eyes. That night, she sat quietly in the kitchen, staring at her reflection in a pot lid. Chica found her there. "I don't belong in your world," she whispered. "I'm just a shadow in your light." "You're not a shadow," Chica said, kneeling beside her. "You're the reason I started to see clearly." Ada shook her head. "What if they never accept us?" Chica smiled sadly. "Then we'll make our own world. A place where love is louder than gossip." "Chica," she said softly, "are you sure about me?" I've never been more sure of anything. Silence fell for a moment. Then Ada said, "Promise me one thing." "Anything. Don't ever be ashamed of me." Chica reached into his pocket and pulled out a small red box. "That's why I got this." He opened it. Inside was a silver ring with a tiny red gem that sparkled like fire in the night. Ada's eyes widened. "Will you be mine, Ada? Not just today, not just in secret, but forever?" She couldn't speak. Her heart was too full. Finally, she whispered, "Yes." But deep in the shadows of the mansion gates, a figure watched. And not everyone was ready to celebrate their joy. News of the engagement between Chica, Obi, and Ada spread through Mwahia like wild bushfire. In the beginning, it was just whispers. But soon, it turned to arguments in beauty salons, shouts in barbershops, and heated debates in church gatherings. Chica wants to marry a housemaid? That Ada girl must have done something spiritual. Doesn't he know he's disgracing his family name? In the Obi mansion, the air was thick with tension. Some workers stopped greeting Ada. Others treated her with fake smiles that disappeared the moment she turned away. But Chica remained calm, standing tall beside her like a tree shielding a bird's nest from a heavy storm. One evening, Chica gathered his entire household staff in the sitting room. Ada stood nervously behind him. "I want to say something," Chica began, his voice firm. "Ada is no longer just a staff member here. She is my fiancée and will be treated with respect." Some servants exchanged glances. Others looked down at their feet. "If anyone has a problem with that," Chica continued, "you are free to leave. But in this house, love will not be mocked." Ada was silent throughout. But that night, in their private corner of the house, she said to him, "You keep defending me, but what if one day you grow tired?" Chica turned to her. "Ada, if love were easy, everyone would find it. But the best things are always hard at first." "I'm not going anywhere." Ada smiled. "Even if the sky falls?" He laughed. "Then I'll build us a roof from the stars." But not everyone believed in fairy tales. One cloudy afternoon, Madame Mucha returned, and she didn't come alone. With her were 3 women in fancy lace dresses and glittering heels. "Meet Ngozi, Amaka, and Ifioma," she declared, sweeping into the mansion. "Proper ladies from proper homes. All of them are ready to become Mrs. Chica Obi." Chica raised an eyebrow. "You came to audition wives for me?" Uju sniffed. "I came to save you from foolishness. This is your last chance to drop that maid and marry someone worthy." Ada was upstairs and heard everything. She held her breath, her heart hammering in her chest. Would Chica change his mind now? But Chica stood tall. "Uju, let me say this once and for all, I don't want someone with shiny heels and empty hearts. I want Ada. She's the one I love." Uju's jaw dropped. "You'll regret this, Chica." "Then let me regret it with joy," he replied. Ada watched from the staircase, tears in her eyes. But the storm only got worse. A few days later, someone from Chica's business board approached him in his office. "Mr. Obi," the man said, "you need to think about your image. Investors are nervous. They're questioning your decisions. Marrying a maid doesn't fit the picture of a modern CEO." Chica looked him dead in the eye. "If my investors are more concerned about who I love than the work I do, then maybe they're in the wrong business." Back at the mansion, Ada met Chica by the pool, her face pale. "I think I should go," she said suddenly. "What?" Chica turned to her. "I'm becoming a burden. People are threatening your business, your family, even your peace." Chica stood. "You are not a burden, Ada. You are my choice." "But I don't want to be the reason you lose everything," she cried. He stepped forward, gently cupping her face. "You are the reason I found everything. Don't run away from me." "But I'd rather lose the world than lose you," he whispered. Ada sobbed softly into his shoulder. Then came the turning point. Chica's grandmother, Mama Neka, arrived from the village. Everyone in Mwahia respected her, old, wise, and full of fire. She asked for Ada. "My son," Mama Neka said, looking at Chica, "bring the girl to me." Nervously, Ada knelt before the old woman. Mama Neka stared at her long and hard. Then, she reached for Ada's hand. "You remind me of myself," she said with a smile. "Strong, brave, honest. I married a man above my class too. And look where that brought me. You have my blessing, child." Ada gasped. Chica grinned. "Let the town talk," Mama Neka said, rising. "By the time we dance at your wedding, they will talk with joy." And at that moment, the storm began to clear. The sun rose gently over Mwahia as if the sky itself knew it was a special day. The birds chirped louder than usual, the breeze carried the scent of blooming hibiscus, and everyone in town whispered one name, Ada. It had been a few months since Mama Neka gave her blessing. And the world around Ada had started to change. Some people still murmured behind her back, but many had softened. Her confidence grew with every day she spent by Chica's side. Ada was no longer the maid. She was Ada, the woman Chica loved, and the woman who had won the heart of even the proudest grandmother. One late afternoon, as Ada helped water the garden, Chica walked in with a small, velvet box. "I've been waiting for the right moment," he said, clearing his throat. Ada turned, confused. "For what?" He went down on one knee. "Oh, Chica," Ada gasped, covering her mouth. He smiled up at her. "Ada, you've taught me what it means to love without fear. You've held me together through storms and smiles. Will you marry me, truly, fully, and forever?" Tears ran down her cheeks as she nodded. "Yes. 1,000 times yes." He slipped the ring onto her finger, and they hugged like they never wanted to let go. "I thought I already said yes to you months ago," Ada said, laughing through her tears. "You did," Chica replied. "But this is the official one, with a shiny rock and butterflies in the stomach." Wedding preparations began the next day. Mama Neka led the planning, insisting that the ceremony combine tradition with elegance. "There will be lace, geli, and drums," she said, wagging a finger. "And plenty of rice and stew. We must feed both the enemies and the friends." Uchu, surprisingly, had softened too. "I still think you're crazy," she told Chica, "but I can't fight someone who makes you smile that much." "And I never asked you to," he replied gently. Ada's old friends from her village came, singing songs and bringing gifts. The entire town buzzed with excitement. Everyone, from shoe shiners to big businessmen, wanted to catch a glimpse of the wedding of the year. On the morning of the wedding, Ada stood before a mirror in her room. Her dress was simple but elegant, off-white with soft gold embroidery. Her hair was braided into a crown, decorated with coral beads. "I feel like a dream," she whispered. Mama Neka entered. "You are a dream, my daughter. And today, you walk into your new chapter." She handed Ada a small pendant. "This belonged to Chica's great-grandmother. Now, it belongs to you." Ada held it close to her chest. "Thank you, Mama." At the grand church on the hill, the crowd waited. Chica stood at the altar, dressed in a cream agbada, his heart racing like a talking drum. Then the music changed. Everyone turned. And there she was. Ada, walking down the aisle like a queen, escorted by the village chief and Mama Neka. Gasps echoed through the room. "She's beautiful. She looks royal. Chica is a lucky man." When Ada reached him, Chica whispered, "You take my breath away." "And you give me strength," she replied. The priest smiled as he began. Vows were exchanged, tears were wiped, and hands were joined. "By the power vested in me, I now pronounce you husband and wife." The crowd erupted into cheers as Chica lifted Ada into a joyful embrace. The reception that followed was magical. Drummers played, dancers twirled, and the air smelled of jollof rice, pepper soup, and celebration. Speeches were made, gifts were given, and laughter filled the hall. During their first dance, Ada rested her head on Chica's shoulder. "Did you ever think this day would come?" she asked. "I did," he said, pulling her closer. "Because love always finds a way." Later that night, as they watched the stars from the balcony of their new home, Chica said, "We started in two different worlds, Ada. But now we've made our own." She smiled. "And in this world, there's love, laughter, and lots of rice." They both laughed. And under the twinkling stars, they sealed their journey with a kiss, one that carried every hardship, every hope, and every dream they ever dared to believe. And so, Ada the maid became Ada the queen of Chica's heart. And together, they taught the town that love doesn't ask for permission, it simply grows, even in unexpected places. Hello tribe, hope we enjoyed today's story. Please kindly put what you've learned in the comments section. Please remember to hit the like button, share this to your friends and family as well as subscribe to see you on the next one. Bye.